What if Deku was the son of Aizawa? Part 1. New What If coming out today. It's going to be hopefully 40 minutes long. If it's not, I probably didn't have enough time. So I hope you guys do enjoy this video. Izuku was born like any normal child to his mother Inko. Now, Izuku would live the first 4 years of his life without his father, as Inko would hide the fact from Aizawa, Izuku's father, that Izuku ever existed, not wanting to be a pain, causing an interruption in Aizawa's hero career. Izuku, at the age of 4, would end up having a much stronger eraser type quirk, where basically if he looked at someone, he didn't even have to have eye contact, he could erase their quirk, and once he blinks, the quirk goes back to them unless he doesn't want it to. If he blinks and he wants the quirk to go back to them, it does. But if he blinks and he didn't want the quirk to go back to him, say it was a villain, then the quirk won't go back to him and the quirk is gone in existence, just disappeared. It almost never even existed in the first place. It was completely erased from existence. So Izuku happened to awake his quirk that same day, erasing his mother's quirk and not knowing how to give it back. Sure, since he didn't know how to give it back, he didn't think he wanted to give his mom's quirk back. He was just thinking, oh god, how am I going to give my mom's quirk back? So from that day forward, Inko's quirk was gone. There was no way to retrieve it after that, even if Izuku wanted to try and give her quirk back when he can't. Now, Izuku, at the age of 10, would end up walking back home from school to where he would end up seeing a huge house fire. He'd walk up to it as he'd just look on in complete shock to see one body bag being carried out, as that body just happened to be his mother, Inko. Izuku, absolutely shocked, just like, what? How? As he'd step forward and collapse to his knees, not understanding how. The police would see this and think that must be his mother, as they take him down to the police station to wait and try to find any relatives of his. Now, from this point, they ask him what his last name is. He says Aizawa. Now, this obviously confuses some people and says, what do you mean Aizawa? Izuku just shrugs and says that's what his mother always told him, that his last name was Aizawa. So, from this point, they end up calling down Eraserhead, who's very annoyed that he was interrupted his sleep because of some minor inconvenience. When he gets there, he looks at the child basically in irritation, as they say, so tell him what your last name is. Izuku Aizawa, that's my name. My mother said some random person did it with her and that's how it was, and she was hiding the fact to conceal their hero career. They never really said anything else about that. To which Aizawa just widens his eyes in shock and says, what? Oh, no, what? As this is when the police say, do you remember Inko Midoriya? To which Aizawa nods and says, what happened to her? To which the police say she died and this was her son, which could possibly be your son as well. This is when a DNA tester comes out, as they use their quirk on Izuku and Aizawa and confirm that they are a match and that Izuku is the son of Aizawa. So Aizawa, now having custody of Izuku, takes Izuku back to his house, as Izuku walks in and just says, wow, it's kind of dark in here. You have any coffee? As Aizawa nods and hands Izuku a cup of coffee, as Izuku drinks it and then crashes on Aizawa's couch, as Aizawa doesn't have a very big house, he just lives in an apartment, that's my guess, because why not? He has one guest bedroom, which Izuku didn't know, so Aizawa just went to his bed, slept for that day along with Izuku. Now, the next day came and Izuku would walk into school. Now, since Izuku could erase people's quirks, and when he was learning how to use his quirk, he accidentally erased a couple people's quirks on accident, but they were very small and minor, so they didn't really care, like a finger growing quirk and stuff like that. Bakugo would never bully him. Nobody would end up bullying him. They just wouldn't be friends with him. This is where Izuku would actually become friends with a very short, purple-haired person, Mineta. Now, this is gonna probably cause a lot of people to hate me for this, but that's why I'm doing it. To make people hate me. I'm just kidding. It's just a twist, okay? A twist. I've never made Izuku friends with Mineta before, so just listen to this. It will most likely end up making sense. Izuku and Mineta are the two outcasts of the school. Nobody wants to be friends with him. Nobody wants to be friends with Izuku because of how powerful he is, and he can just erase their quirks. And nobody wants to be friends with Mineta because he's Mineta. He's a pervert. Now, Izuku would end up being trained by Aizawa for the next 4 years. Izuku would continue to be friends with Mineta, with Izuku end up learning how to use Aizawa's scarf and learning Aizawa's martial arts. Even though Izuku was the son of Aizawa, Aizawa would push Izuku to the very limits, making him go through very powerful and hard tests, even for a 15-year-old when he was 10, basically making Izuku just as strong and good of a fighter as Aizawa was. Now, just one fateful day happens when Izuku and Mineta are in class, along with Bakugo, and as the teacher walks in and throws papers in the air and says, "I know you all want to be heroes," as the class cheers. This is to the point where Bakugo stands up on his chair and says, "None of you lowlives will ever become heroes." As the teacher then says, so it says here, Bakugo, Izuku, and Mineta are all trying out to become heroes to go to UA. This is the point where everyone starts laughing, not at Izuku, but at Mineta. He's Mineta. To which Izuku just stands up as his hair starts floating up as he uses his quirk to erase everyone's quirk, making everyone sit down as Izuku gives all their quirks back. Now, the teacher just laughs nervously. Izuku, please don't do that again. You don't want the whole class to lose their quirks like you almost did in preschool, right? As Izuku just says, yeah, sure. As Izuku and Mineta are walking home, which they both live pretty close to each other, Izuku ends up overhearing Mineta say how he's going to catch so many girls in UA, to which Izuku just kicks Mineta and says, "You idiot!" To which Mineta is slammed into a wall by this kick as he rubs his head and says, "What the hell was that for, Izuku?" To which Izuku just says, "Dude, you realize you're never gonna get a girl when you act like this." To which Mineta says, "What do you mean? All the ladies love me." Izuku just sighs and says, "Why do you think nobody in this school is friends with you besides me? It's because you're a pervert, Mineta. You have to change if you ever want to get a girl." To which Mineta thinks for a moment and says, "Maybe. Just maybe." So that was the last day of school, and 10 months pass. Izuku's still being trained by Aizawa, and the sludge villain never happened. Izuku not having to walk under an overpass to get to his house, as he doesn't walk that way to his house anymore. So the sludge villain was just captured. So after this, Izuku ends up walking to the entrance exam where he ends up seeing Mineta. As he looks down at Mineta and says, "Did you change your ways, Mineta?" To which Mineta says, "Yeah, it'll be hard, but I think I did it." As both of them walk in to take the written exam, Izuku would end up passing, not lacking in schooling or intelligence, as Aizawa would also train him on that. Mineta would be very close to failing, but would somehow pass as well. Now, when it comes to the practical exam, both Mineta and Izuku would work together. Izuku being super strong, with Mineta using his quirk, Pop-Off, he would end up throwing them at the robot's feet, getting them stuck, to which Izuku would punch the robots, destroying them, basically making them a good team, to which the heroes up in the stands noticed this. Now, some of you guys did mention that they wouldn't be in the same um, exam because they came from the same schools, but which Bakugo was also trying out. So they saw how Bakugo was supposedly one of the strongest in the school, with Izuku not even showing up on that. So they decided to put the supposed two very not strong people together and the very strong one without anybody. So the teachers realize their mistake as they see Izuku and Mineta easily racking up points. It may only be Izuku getting the points, but they also saw how useful Mineta's quirk was for capturing villains. So many minutes pass as they hear a loud shaking noise, to which Izuku sees that there is a massive robot walking towards them, to which Izuku hears a yell for help as he looks over to see a girl crushed under a rock, about to be crushed under a foot of the giant zero-pointer. He yells at Mineta to start running as they both run down to see the zero-pointer about to grab them, to which Izuku jumps up and starts running on the arm. Mineta very barely catching up with him as Izuku smashes into the robot's head as he yells for Mineta to throw him one of his pop-off things. Mineta does as Izuku slams the pop-off into the robot's wires, causing a malfunction as the robot's head barely explodes, with Izuku barely getting out. As Izuku jumps down, grabs the girl, and starts running away, as an explosion occurs behind them, with Mineta very barely even still alive from the explosion, as he was already panting when they got up to the head of the robot. The teachers would see the teamwork in Izuku and Mineta, so they obviously decided to pass Izuku and Mineta. Even though he didn't get any villain points, they still gave him some hero points along with teamwork points that they just did because of that teamwork that they did. Other people got some teamwork and hero points just because they helped some people who were in trouble defeat robots. So they got very minor teamwork points and hero points, but Izuku and Mineta got a lot. So Izuku goes back to his house as he waits for Aizawa to get there, as Izuku just asks, "How'd I do?" To which Aizawa just says, "You did okay," as Izuku and Aizawa both go to sleep. Now, Izuku would spend the next 2 weeks before UA training as hard as possible, basically to set himself apart as one of the strongest in the class. The 2 weeks pass as Izuku, along with Mineta, end up walking to UA together. They get to the classroom as Izuku just thinks, "Wow, what a big door," as they open it up to see Bakugo arguing with Ida. Ida would rush over to Izuku and congratulate Izuku on getting first place in the entrance exam and all that. Izuku just says, "Wait, I got first? I didn't even realize. I didn't even get acceptance letter. I was just told I got accepted. Huh, that's weird." As Izuku would go sit in the back of the class along with Mineta. Now, Izuku would end up falling asleep as 8 minutes pass, to which Aizawa would sluggishly walk into the classroom in his sleeping bag. As Aizawa would stand up and say, "Alright, my name is Shota Aizawa, otherwise known as Eraserhead. Put these on and go to testing ground A." As the class does so, as they go down to testing ground A, as they start asking questions, why aren't they going to orientation? To which Aizawa just says that this is class 1A and he can teach however the hell he wants to. Aizawa then throws Izuku a ball and says, "Why don't you throw this ball? Just stand in the circle." Izuku does so as he rolls back his fist and throws the ball a good 350 meters. Aizawa says that's good for someone without a cork. As it, people just look shocked and say, wait, he's corkless and got in? Izuku just sighs and says, well, not exactly. I have a cork, but I'm not telling you it yet. I'd rather have it be a surprise, and my cork doesn't help me physically at all, so I'm basically doing this as a corkless person. To which Aizawa says, yeah, so it'll most likely be below unless some of you guys have a bad corks and didn't train your body. As the rest of the class would end up taking the tests, with Izuku being around 5th place. Aizawa would just sigh and say, man, you guys are really, really weak. This corkless person that I'm referring to, he has a cork like he said, but he went in this corkless and somehow beat 15 people. 15 of you he beat. And the 5 people he didn't beat just happened to have a cork that actually gave them abilities that helped. And this is sad. You guys are going to have to do a lot of work if you want to become heroes. Now, after Aizawa says this, one of the class, Momo, points out that Izuku has the last name of Aizawa, saying, wait, why does Izuku have your last name, Mr. Aizawa? To which Aizawa just says, oh yeah, he's my son. We have like the same cork, but he can erase corks permanently if he chooses to. So he's just not making him mad. To which the class just nods in agreement very nervously, like, yeah, we shouldn't make him mad. As Izuku just sighs, Father, why do you have to do this to me? As many days pass with them doing small tests with Aizawa just trying to test their strength. Now Izuku would end up still being somewhat of a outcast with not many friends there, and Mineta being one of the only ones. And many of the girls would actually find Mineta weird and how they both hung out together, so they wouldn't even want to hang out with Izuku either. Izuku and Mineta would just sit at a table and just basically do nothing. Mineta trying to keep the urge of him trying to talk about girls for most of the time. Izuku basically trying to make Mineta not so much as a perv, basically because Izuku knows if Mineta turns out to be a perv, he'll always be alone, and that wouldn't be very cool. So, Izuku and Mineta, along with Class 1A, are chilling they're waiting for their hero class, to which they start to hear loud thumps running in from down the hall. This is when the door smashes open, and it smashes into the wall, off its hinges, through the wall, and breaks through the windows on the other side, to which Izuku says, dang, I wonder how much that will cost. As All Might yells, I'm here, walking through the door like a normal person. Izuku just says walking. I wouldn't really call that walking. As All Might just sighs as he says, okay, class, put on your hero costumes and go down to testing site F, the city. As they all put their hero costumes on, to which many of the students notice Izuku's uniform or hero costume is very close to what Aizawa's looks like, as they question him on it, and he just says, yeah, I just decided to use Aizawa's costume because I'm not going to be a fancy hero. I'll just be one of the night-dwelling heroes that stop criminals at night like my father is. To which they say it makes sense that his costume's all black then. Now Izuku would end up being paired up with Uraraka against Bakugo and Ida. Mineta obviously being paired up with Momo, with Mineta trying not to show his pervy side if he ever wants a chance to be with Momo. In his opinion, the best looking girl in the entire class. So Izuku and Uraraka would end up waiting for All Might to give them the go-ahead to walk into the building. Once that happens, they both walk into the building as Izuku walks very slowly and only in the shadows, basically masking his presence with them as he hears Bakugo running down the stairs as Izuku points upward as he looks at Uraraka and says, "He's right above us." As he hears more steps being thrown, as Izuku points to behind them, he says, "The stairs were back there, weren't they? Yeah, I suggest you turn around." As Izuku escapes through the shadows to see Bakugo hop out through the stairway as he goes for an explosion, only to see Izuku's not there, only to see, in his opinion, Pink um dog dog as he goes to explode her, only to have Izuku's capture gear wrap around Bakugo as Izuku slams Bakugo into the wall and puts handcuffs around Bakugo, Quirk erasing handcuffs behind that, as Izuku runs through the building with Aizawa, or Raka. Man, I'm such an idiot. Now, they end up getting to the top floor where Izuku suspected the bomb would be, as he tells Uraraka to go in first. As she does, Izuku ends up escaping through a window as he sees that a window was on the side behind the bomb. Izuku would smash through that window and touch the bomb, successfully deactivating it, giving Uraraka and Izuku the win. Uraraka says that was a good plan, Izuku, as they both go back to where everyone was watching, to which All Might says who was the best or MVP of the who was the MVP of that match. Momo raises her hand and says it was Izuku, successfully using shadows to mask his presence, and that ultimately gave them the win. Now, should Izuku get one for all? That will just make him even more powerful, or should I give it to someone lesser like Moneta? So go ahead and just comment, should Izuku get one for all, Moneta get one for all, or any of the other students in Class 1A? Now, Izuku would be congratulated for helping the team win the exam, as Izuku waits for the next day to happen. Once this next day happens, Aizawa tells them in 2 weeks' time they will be going on a field trip to the USJ, Unforeseen Simulation Joints, not Universal Studios Japan. So, Izuku would end up training for that time, knowing that it's a rescue training. I mean, he lives with one of the teachers. One of the teachers is his father. So those 2 weeks pass as they all get their hero costumes on and pile onto the bus. Now, this is the point where Asui asks Izuku how his quirk is different from Aizawa, as she can't remember what he said was different about it. This is where Izuku says that he can erase any quirk in existence if he wants to, just by simply looking at the person. As Izuku looks at Bakugo, activating Izuku's quirk as his hair raises and says, "Bakugo, try to use your quirk." To which Bakugo tries to use his quirk, but can't. To which Izuku then gives Bakugo's quirk back and says, "Why don't you try to use it now?" To which Bakugo starts to use his quirk. This is when Asui says, "Well, what if you're lying?" That's when Izuku asks Moneta to use his quirk pop-off, to which Moneta does, and sticks it onto a chair. This is when Izuku uses quirk on Moneta, as Moneta tries to use pop-off, but it doesn't work, as Moneta's hair starts bleeding, as he says, "You see, he tried to use pop-off when it's technically his hair after I erased his quirk, so he basically just pulled out a lot of his hair." As the class nods, knowing that Izuku is his quirk, or Eraser is his quirk. Izuku would give Neta his quirk back, as Izuku waits for the bus to arrive at the USJ. Once it arrives there, they end up seeing 13, as they all wonder what is 13 doing there, as 13 explains what they will be doing at the Unforeseen Simulation Joint, as there is many different zones that they will be going to test out their rescue training. They all walk in as they all start to look around and say, wow, this place is huge. Only to have Kirishima say, wow, they even have fake villains here too. To which Aizawa looks down to see a massive portal opening up to see hundreds and upon hundreds of villains climbing out of that portal. Aizawa yells back at them, those aren't fake villains, those are real. 13, protect the students. As Aizawa would jump down, as he'd erase the corks of 3 people, use his capture gear to slam them together and basically make them unconscious. Aizawa would continue using his fighting skills to defeat the villains. This is the point where Kirishima asked, wait, isn't Aizawa a one-on-one fighter? He couldn't stand a chance to this much villains. To which Izuku just answers, no hero's a one-trick pony. He's trained in this, just like he trained me with hundreds of random people. To which they just look at him like, wait, what? It's when Izuku just sighs and says, Aizawa hired a bunch of random people to try and fight me as training. It was very weird. Wait, no, he didn't hire them. That was his class last year. Yeah, I had to defeat them all. I somehow did it, though. Somehow did it. As they all just look shocked at him and says, you defeated 100 people last year? Suzuki just says, yeah, it was quite easy, actually. They weren't that well trained, which is shocking, seeing that some of you guys are pretty well trained. As Aizawa would continue to defeat the villains, as Kirogiri would open up a portal below the students as they'd fall through, as he'd separate the students into many different zones. Izuku would end up being placed in the water zone along with Asui and Mineta. Izuku would end up being thrown onto the boat with Mineta, as Asui would then jump back onto the boat, saying that it was a close one that they didn't die to all the villains out there. Izuku thinks for a moment and then just says, I mean, what harm could they do if all their quirks were gone? As Izuku stares at each and every single one of the villains erasing their quirks permanently, making them quirkless. The shark person, being more shark than a person, ends up transforming into a shark, to which Izuku says, I didn't think about that. Now we have a shark down there, so, I mean, they don't eat humans, right? Or at least they don't try to? To which Izuku then says, alright, Asui, you're going to try and throw us out to there, and then you're going to try and jump out to there. Alright, let's do this. To which Asui throws Mineta Izuku out back far somehow, and then she jumps to that thing as well. They both get there to see Aizawa being smashed into the ground by a massive Nomu. Izuku, then getting mad that his father was very close to death, ends up walking right up to the Nomu, almost as if he wasn't in control of his body. As everyone in the USJ could almost feel this very insane presence, a very strong and furious presence, to which almost everyone very close to Izuku would end up being put down on their knees as Izuku would walk to the Nomu, who was struggling to stand, as Izuku reaches out his hand and touches the Nomu, taking the Nomu's corks and completely erasing them, as the Nomu falls to the ground, as Izuku puts his hand completely flat and then slices the Nomu's head right off, almost in this insane presence. Izuku was so fast in how he cut with this completely flat hand that it completely severed the Nomu's head off, now not having regeneration, fell down dead. Izuku would then walk to Shigaraki, as Shigaraki would be forced to leave. As Izuku would fall to his knees and then pass out, as the class rushes over to him, as Aizawa somehow barely ends up standing up and says he exhausted himself. Must have unlocked a new form from his quirk. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Now, after this, many heroes end up showing up thanks to Ida rushing out as an ambulance takes Izuku away back to Recovery Girl's office just to rest and gain his energy back. Now, Aizawa would also be there trying to recover as he turns into some type of mummy thanks to all the bandages that they had to use basically to stop all the bleeding as Izuku would end up waking up. A couple days pass as the UA students are told they will be now moving into dorms as the teachers spend a couple days going around and asking the students' parents if they can move their child into dorms, which all of them end up saying yes. So Izuku would end up moving into a dorm as well, as the teachers wanted them to move into a dorms just so they don't end up getting attacked outside of the school. Now, after this, a couple weeks pass as Aizawa tells them that they will now be doing the UA Sports Festival. Isn't this crazy? My most likely longest video I'm ever doing just happens to have the sports festival in part 1. That's insane. Other YouTubers that do these really long what ifs barely get to the USJ in an hour, which I find absolutely crazy because they spend half of that time explaining everything, which I feel like I don't have to do because I am good at explaining things, I feel like, but I might not be because I'm an idiot. So getting back into this, Izuku would end up training for the UA Sports Festival as it was announced 2 weeks early from when it was going to be happening. Now, once the day happens, all of the students walk into class as Aizawa gives them their PE uniforms to put on so they can participate in the sports festival. They all hop on a bus as they are transported to this huge coliseum to where Izuku would end up, along with his class, walk into the locker rooms as they ask themselves why'd they change at UA instead of just coming here straight away and then changing. Weird. As they all just sit there waiting to be called onto the field. A couple minutes pass as they hear over the intercoms, 1A, please start walking onto the field. As they start to walk onto the field, as they see giant doors slowly begin to open, basically making the dramatic effect even greater as Midnight yells, "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Class 1A!" as the cheering it goes 10 times louder, to which the other classes just grumble, not having as much attention and fame as they should be, at least in their opinion. Now, after the crowd dies down a little bit, Midnight tells them that they will be doing a race as the first event, and for all the students to end up lining up in the very crowded tunnel. Now, Izuku would end up doing this as Izuku goes to the back, which he finds Mineta there as well. As Izuku waits and waits as President Mike yells, "Go!" This is where Izuku would end up waiting for the entire people to clear out as Izuku rushes out, being in last place along with Mineta. Mineta asks Izuku why he's in last place, as he says many people are going to fail soon, so as long as we just get top 40, we'll be fine. I heard that the first place winner ends up always getting targeted and most likely ends up losing, so I suggest we stay in the back for quite a while. As they end up staying in the back throughout the zero pointer and the cave thing, to which they saw many people fall down and end up getting trapped down there, as Izuku and Mineta would end up walking past there, to see many students backed up at the landmine thing, to see Bakugo and Todoroki already halfway done. Izuku would grab Mineta's leg and chuck him basically as fast as he could, sending Moneta flying right past Bakugo and right past Todoroki. Don't ask me how, it's anime logic. As Moneta would end up rolling past the finish line, giving himself first place, with Izuku using Bakugo and Todoroki's confusion to pass them, giving himself second place. Moneta severely dizzy and yells, "What the hell was that for, Izuku?" To which Izuku just laughs and says, "Well, you're first place now." As he says, "Wait, really? But when I get targeted?" Izuku just laughs and says, "No, I realized halfway through the race, if I use everybody basically instilling fear in everybody, you can easily win." As everyone ends up passing, and the top 42 people end up getting to participate in the second event, being the Cavalry battle. Now, this is the point where Moneta ends up being announced to have 1,000,000 points, to which everyone ends up targeting him, looking with demon eyes at him, as Suki just walks right Moneta and says, "Do you all want your quirk to be erased? Because that's my quirk. If you come towards my team, your quirk will be permanently erased and you won't be able to become a hero." As the entire, basically all the students looking at Moneta, wanting to get that 1,000,000 point headband, ends up backing off almost immediately as the event starts. Basically with them backed up into a corner, with Izuku threatening to erase their quirks, which caused many people to deter, but some people not deterring, with Bakugo launching right at Izuku, to which Izuku looks right at Bakugo. Now, many people, seeing that Izuku's team was about to get rushed, look over to see Bakugo using his explosions, and almost immediately his explosions died down, almost immediately gone, as his face would go straight down into the dirt as he would get a mouthful of it. As Izuku just looks at Bakugo and says, "Told you you shouldn't have come towards it." As Izuku gives back Bakugo's quirk, having Bakugo to walk back a walk of shame back towards his team's side, or where they were. Now, this event ends up passing, with Moneta and Izuku getting first place spots. As the teachers once again say that Moneta and Izuku's teamwork once again proves that they are a very good team. Now, after this, Izuku would end up being congratulated by most of Class 1A, Moneta as well, for getting the win in the Cavalry battle and the race. Now, Izuku would end up being first up in the 1v1s to face Shinso, to where Izuku thinks that Shinso could be Aizawa's son, seeing how tired Shinso was, to the point where Izuku saw a very canny resemblance between him, Aizawa, and himself. So, Izuku, basically being told that Shinso has a brainwashing quirk, would instantly erase Shinso's quirk and answer all of Shinso's questions, to which Shinso would be in shock at how he wasn't basically becoming brainwashed, to which Izuku just laughs and says, "I erased your quirk. You can't possibly brainwash me now," as Izuku punches Shinso right in the face, knocking him out of bounds, giving Izuku the victory, as Izuku gives Shinso's quirk back as Izuku walks off. After this, Izuku is now going to be fighting up against Todoroki. And if you're wondering what happened to Moneta, he ended up somehow beating, let's say he somehow beat, Bakugo. Yeah, he somehow beat Bakugo. With Bakugo using his arrogance and rage because of how embarrassing it was from Izuku erasing his quirk, wanting to use it on this little pebble he saw as Moneta, as he launched himself right at Moneta, only to have Moneta step away from Bakugo. He just stepped back as Bakugo would launch face first into a wall, with the entire crowd laughing at him, basically making Bakugo having lost that event once again. Bakugo, being severely mad, would just walk off as he'd end up going into the locker room and smash his fist against a wall, putting an indent into it. How the hell did I lose to such a pebble? As Mineta would just laugh and say, "You shouldn't underestimate me, Bakugo." As that's where I'm going to leave it off, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy this amazingly long video. It's absolutely crazy that I can make videos this long. It's very tiring because I stand up when I record, and standing up for 40 minutes straight is very, very hard. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. The link to the music is in the description. Also, there's going to be a Discord link in the description as well. I hope you guys did enjoy this video once again, and goodbye.